The opinions expressed on Plastic Fantastic are intended for educational and informational purposes only and are not meant as a diagnosis, treatment, or substitute for professional medical advice. The mention of any product, treatment, or procedure on the show does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation and is purely for the information and education of the public.
Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, a weekly show dedicated to the latest in plastic surgery, aesthetics, beauty, and wellness. Now, here are your hosts, board-certified surgeons Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Wow, had to think about that one.
I did.
Good morning.
Say, what comes after afternoon?
That's pretty good. Well, we don't know what the morrow is yet, but...
Well, good morrow, good day.
Good lady.
Kind sir.
Amen.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic.
Maybe they're not coming back ever. Maybe once they've been here once.
I don't know why anybody would be here in the first place, let alone come back.
Let's just assume that somebody's coming back. All week, all month.
That's good.
All year.
Hello, listener, listening in on Her Majesty's Internet. How are you?
And thank you for listening to the Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Now that we've dispensed with all those pleasantries,
formalities,
we're going to talk about the wishing well of wellness.
The wellness of the human mind and body.
Not really our style, but we're going to try and get all warm and fuzzy on this one.
Wellness is very important. Plus, it encompasses pretty much anything and everything.
I think you have to have a significant lack of cynicism to believe in wellness. And we're kind of cynical by nature.
I was going to say, do you?
Naughty by nature, not because I hate you. But
naughty? Who's naughty by nature?
That's a song.
Oh.
And a band. And the album, probably. But anyway.
It's a little bit of everything. Sounds very risque.
I think you have to be open-minded, glass half full kind
Always.
of person.
And not risque.
And not
like
risque and more cynical.
I'm
sorry, less cynical. Sorry, see?
Freudian.
Old habits are hard to break. Less cynical about life in general to be into wellness. So if I had to ask you, what's wellness as a plastic surgeon, what would you say?
Making sure that you take care of yourself. Self-care.
See, that sounds risque already. I had a patient once, no lie. Swear to God, first year in practice, a man, we went over, it was a post-op facelift, and the man...
You've already said too much.
Have I? You know, they've got the list of you can't do this, you can't do that, and I remember he was very proper, British fellow.
Oh, now you've said even more.
And he
now
said,
we know who it is.
Doctor, what about a little bit of mild self-abuse?
Really?
Isn't that great? And of course, I was such an idiot. I'm like, huh?
What do you mean? Like,
what are you talking about? And then I'm like, that.
Okay.
And I said, well, I suppose.
Well, we've gone definitely into the risque territory here.
I'm sorry. I can't help myself. All right. So wellness, self-care. Yes.
Saying wellness, I think, encompasses a lot of different things. So mental health.
That's a top of the list. That's
psychological
a really big one. Because it all follows after that. If you're happy and you know it.
Mens sana in corpore sanum. I mean, that's one of the expressions, right? No? A healthy
Para
mind.
continue en español, press 2. What are you talking about?
That's Latin.
I know it was, but I didn't know how to say to continue in Latin, press 2.
Et al, etc.
Anyway, if you're happy and you know it, everything else follows. So I think you're right.
Clap
you got to
your
be
hands.
happy. Right.
And also doing little things, because you don't have to take a retreat for a week. You don't have to go do yoga for a year. You could just do little things.
Do you remember Vanilla Sky?
Yes.
It's the little things. There's nothing bigger. That's what Tom Cruise says in the end. That's what he realizes.
Oh, are we going to go Tom Cruise again?
Well, he's the star of Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, no, I know, but...
I'm trying to get you to movies anyway.
Okay.
You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich.
Yes, he says it's the little things. There's nothing bigger. And it's about all the little things he did in his life. He's looking back on it and realizes that those are really important. Very few moments in life where somebody's got a gun to your head and is like,
hopefully
do you
never.
love this person or do you not? And the answer is, of course, the big questions you always get. But it's the day-to-day. It's the stamina of being a good, nice little person every day. All the little things.
That's right. And they do all add up. And as you and I know, sometimes it's doing small plastic surgery procedures that can have a significant positive
genius
impact.
Segue. That's not even on the script. Wow.
The script that we tear up before we even write it.
That is gone like the snows of yesteryear.
Of Kilimanjaro.
Exactly. Good movie.
I haven't seen that one, nor have I seen Vanilla Sky. I have a long list of movies.
Really? This is going to be kind of a dumb thing to say.
Uh-oh. You have to go see more movies?
See the remake of Vanilla Sky. Don't see the original. Like usually people say,
an original?
Yes, it's a Spanish film. I think it's terrible.
El Cielo Vanilla?
Exactly. Why don't you do it in Latin, smarty pants?
I'm done
with
my
Cameron
Latin.
Crowe directed Tom Cruise one is actually good. I thought it was good. Came out just after 9/11.
Oh, so that's the remake.
That is actually a remake.
God,
and I
Spanish
think,
movie.
you know what? I think Penelope Cruz is in both. She's in the Tom Cruise one, but I actually think she's in the Spanish one as well.
Speaking Espanol in the original.
The little things, self-care. People ask us this all the time, and we look for these red flags with patients. If they're unhappy and we think that it's got to start with happiness and wellness, then we're definitely going to start with that, because if they're unhappy going into what we do, not going to be good.
Yes, and also being able to identify what it is that's actually bothering them, as opposed to just speaking in generalities and saying, well, I really need my eyes done so that I'll feel better, or that I'll get this role that I've been auditioning for that I can't seem to get cast for anything, and it's just because of my nose. Well, what is it that's bothering you? Well, it's just the nose. There's something about my nose, and they can't specifically say what it is that they'd like to fix. And
That's
then, of course, we
dangerously
don't
vague.
know what it is that we're trying to do. So that's definitely a red flag. Also, they're starting incorporating this into schools, certainly doing it at a younger age, where they'll just do a timeout for the students, and they'll just say, close your eyes and take a deep breath and think of something happy, or a way to de-stress, because we can get so wound up and coiled up like a spring, and then all that pent-up energy that has to go somewhere. And I think also just in the last couple of years, I mean, we've had such a change in the normal interactions. Everything has become a little... You haven't noticed, have you?
And it manifests itself in so many different ways.
In so many ways. So I think wellness has to do with a lot of things. First of all, addressing what's going on in your head and making sure that you're doing something nice for yourself. And by the way, and they've looked at this, doing something nice for someone else. It doesn't just have to be for yourself.
Totally.
Making yourself feel better. And of course, you and I as doctors, since it's safe to say that the vast majority of physicians actually do feel better about taking care of other people.
Absolutely.
That's what drives us.
That sounds hokey, but it's so true.
I'm going to speak for the vast majority of physicians out there when I say that.
It sounds like you're a pre-med student in an interview at medical school, but it's really the truth. And you know what? If it's not the truth, you're going to burn out. You're going to quit early, do something else, like go into, I don't know, private equity,
yoga,
or finance, right? Exactly.
Be a yoga instructor.
If that's not the reason, it will become the reason, or you will fail miserably or burn out and leave medicine, because you cannot survive unless that's the reason you do it.
The negative effects of stress, not just on our mental well-being, but also the physical consequences of being stressed out, are real. And so they're doing more and more research. They're looking at the negative effects, and also they're looking at the way that the cells respond to stress. I mean, it's really fascinating.
Look at Prince Philip.
To see it.
Living the good life, man. Live to be 100.
Well, that royal family. How old is
How much stress did that
Queen
guy
Elizabeth?
have?
Zero. He takes the
Right?
stress.
I mean, he had a wonderful wife who took care of everything.
Eventually, he had zero. I think when he was younger, obviously, it was a little bit.
Yeah, but he
different.
worked it out.
Yeah.
He looked at the big picture, said,
And
"She's a
working
good catch.
And she was.
I'm going to keep going with this royal consort
the royal
thing.
consort.
It's going to work."
That should be our next show.
The royal consort?
Royals. Just
Great
the
name.
royals.
Oh,
I mean,
I'd
so
love
many
to
different
opine.
things.
I don't think we'd get through the second segment. We'd be shut
I think
down.
we'd say, welcome to Plastic Fantastic Show, and then we'd get a knock on the door.
Right. From Her Majesty's
Secret Service.
Internet. I also
Anderson
think...
Shepherd crew.
Oh,
would
my
be-
guys. I love those guys. By the way, I think we should say another thing off at the outset about wellness is a routine for wellness.
Yes,
it's very easy to do
very
like
important.
a weekend of yoga, a weekend retreat, a weekend of something that's cool, or a course in transcendental meditation, which is big, by the way. A lot of people do that.
I was going to say, do you do that?
I'm doing it right now.
This is
Yes.
how we meditate.
No, I don't. But everybody swears by it. But a routine, whatever works for you. It could be the littlest thing in the world. Like my routine is get myself this coffee, or I always do this whatever thing, or this is like a 10-minute
Doing
thing.
a headstand
for
before
myself.
you start.
Exactly.
Drinking upside down.
Drinking upside
Apparently,
down.
they say that that's how one of those old
Hiccups?
wives' tales. Yes, that you cure hiccups by standing upside or standing on your head.
because you aspirate into your lungs, you pass out from hypoxia, and then you don't worry about your hiccups anymore because somebody is coding you in the ER because you've just arrested.
So are you
it
saying,
works.
Are you saying
Foolproof.
But it'll cure your hiccups in a,
Cure the hiccups.
in a nanosecond. So probably not the better way of
What are
of going
hiccups?
about
Why don't we
it.
tell the listener? We've got to do something medical.
Well, you can go crazy with that one. It's a diaphragm.
Yeah, so
irritation.
diaphragm is a flat muscle that sits in between the chest and the abdomen. It separates the two domains. And
It's flat, but it's curved.
Very true. It's like the skirt steak of human muscles.
Oh, my Lord. Don't
Didn't
say
you
that
like
because
that?
I love skirt
I
steak.
know you see, I'm always trying to get it towards food. Anyway, it's a spasm of the diaphragm where you have a hiccup, and it can be a really challenging thing. There are some medical reports where it goes on for years in certain cases, and there's different kinds of
Uncontrollable
medical
hiccups?
procedures to get rid of it, which we don't have
all
to go
sound
into
terrible,
now.
I'm sure.
They are terrible.
So we're not going to
Well,
do
hiccups are terrible.
We're going to focus on wellness and
Okay.
thinking about things that make you feel good and
Let's do
taking
it.
a little bit of time out in the middle of the day or at the end of the day or whenever you think of it to take some nice deep breaths and decompress. And since you were talking about weekend warriors, so it turns out, I just saw this study, some people who think that you really have to exercise on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and if you can't do it because the schedule doesn't permit, then it's not worth doing at all. Well, they've actually looked at whether or not concentrating all of those workout sessions into one, consolidating them into, say, 1 or 2 days worth, does actually have pretty much the same overall
No
health
way.
benefits. Yes. Now, of course, you have to be careful because there are overuse injuries, and if you haven't done anything for the whole week and then you go and you try to work out for 3 hours, that might not be the best.
So are you
in
saying
terms of
that
your
if
joints.
normally you run 2 or 3 miles a day, you pick one day out or 2 days where you do 2 like 10-mile runs?
Yes. Overall, it will have the
Really?
same impact in terms of
Amazing.
longevity and improvement in health. So my point is that
Yeah.
you may not be able to work it because workouts and exercise in general, and it doesn't have to be anything in particular. It's not like, I know you're a runner, so for
Not
those
anymore. I wish I didn't.
yeah, that obviously takes a huge stress on the body. There are 1,000,001 different classes that people can do or can take.
That's what I
And
mean
then-
about a routine. You got to
Yes.
find something.
And then you can do all these things at home, of course. And I remember seeing some story about a guy who ran not just marathons, but these ultra
super
marathons,
marathons.
super
They're
marathons,
amazing.
whatever they are. I don't do them.
Those guys order like pizza on the way. I'm not joking, by the way.
They're at it for a
They
really
have to
long
order
time.
food or get somebody to get them some kind of a caloric like replenishment like
Oh, I'm
halfway.
sure.
They're 100-mile runs.
Exactly. I don't know how you do that. And it's not even like in a one day or one time sitting. But there was a story about this one guy who I think used to be a Marine or was in the military. And all of his workouts were basically his own body weight at home.
That's
He
great.
didn't go to the gym. He didn't have these fancy schmancy trainers, which of course
And he
have
was
their
all
value.
jacked up, right?
He was so, impressive.
See?
And kept like setting records,
That's
etc.
like me. He probably noticed that I do
You were his personal
own
trainer.
weight workout, and that's why I look the way I do,
Like fantastic.
Exactly.
For Plastic Fantastic.
Nice.
You're listening to Plastic Fantastic.
With Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And the ever so great looking Dr.
No,
Robert
thanks
Silich.
very much. You could email us at plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com.
Ask us about
Wellness,
ultramarathons.
ultramarathons,
Wellness.
or ordering pizza during your run. Wellness,
Probably
routine.
how to keep yourself healthy and how to stay happy.
You're always calm. I think I've rarely ever seen you frazzled. Maybe
Yeah.
once or twice, and then you just laugh.
Yeah,
you say
and
something
laugh it
funny,
off.
and
Yeah,
it's
you gotta
over.
break the stress. So sense of humor.
We're always
comedy should-
laughing. My God.
My goodness.
Sometimes we got to cut it off. It's so bad.
Well, I think it's so important to maintain. What is it? Laughter is the best medicine. Isn't that the expression?
Something.
But something.
Something's the best medicine. Yeah, no, I think that's true.
It's kind of hard because, of course, you don't want to be offensive. So you have to be careful about what
Yeah.
you say and in what context you say it and not to step on any toes.
Right.
But in general, making light of a situation certainly has its value and, smiling at things. And they say that also in terms of when you have somebody answering your phones in the office, that if they put the smile on before they answer the phone, it actually comes across. Like you can tell when somebody's smiling if
Really?
they answer the phone. Try it sometime.
The
Smile before you...
The gatekeepers.
Well, yes,
They're
because
so important.
talk about wellness. I mean, this is sort of part of what we do as aesthetic plastic surgeons.
Yep.
It's all about making people look better and then, of course, making them feel better because they look better.
We're trying to do something. We do something that we hope makes you feel better.
Yes, and we're going to talk more about what can make you feel better and
Don't
look
tell
better.
me we're taking a break
We're going to take a
already.
short break, just a very short break.
Right.
And then you can talk about all those ideas that you have that I know. I can see your
Okay.
little gray cell
All right, I'm thinking.
shooting sparks.
About
from your
wellness?
brain. Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Wonder if you should get tested for colorectal cancer? Well, it's the second leading cancer killer in the U.S., and screening helps prevent it. So if you're 50 or older, it's time. Even if it doesn't run in your family, most often, colorectal cancer occurs in people with no family history. And it doesn't always cause symptoms, especially early on, so don't wait for symptoms to get tested. Screening helps prevent the disease by finding precancerous polyps so they can be removed. Remove the polyp, prevent the cancer. Screening also helps find colorectal cancer early when treatment works best. You might be thinking, oh no, not that test. But here's the thing, you have options. There's more than one screening test. Talk to your doctor to find the one that's right for you. No more excuses. If you're over 50, get tested, because colorectal cancer screening really does save lives. A message from HHS and CDC's Screen for Life campaign.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Plastic Fantastic.
Happiness is number one. Number two, we think routine is important, whatever that might be. It could be you run 8 miles every day at 5 a.m. Good for you.
Or you have coffee
or
every
you don't.
morning.
Or you have coffee every morning.
With sugar and cream.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
That's pretty good.
That's a happy moment right there.
You're not a big coffee drinker. I don't think I've ever seen you drink coffee. What's the deal with that?
Because I have it in the morning and then I'm done. And then I'm happy for the rest of the
You
day.
have it before you get here.
Absolutely.
Okay, I got it.
Starts off the day with just a little bit of caffeine. You don't want to overdo it. Excess of some things is probably good, but some things in excess are probably not good.
We get a lot of questions about wellness. Sometimes people ask us, what can I do without having you guys operate on me? And there are little tricks.
Everybody wants me to operate.
Good for you.
Little tricks.
That's
so what
a
are the
problem.
little things?
Little tricks, surgery, little tricks, or little tricks without surgery?
Well, what do you tell patients who say, I'm not ready for an operation?
So one of the things we try and do is we try and, as the Bedrocks say, read the room. So if we read the room...
You like that expression. You've used that before.
Because there's so many applications to it. The lead singer in the band is always, I'm going to read the room. What's the set list? Let's just read the room, which is such a cop-out. I love it. Anyway, okay.
So we're going to wing it, in other words.
One of the things it's kind of like Plastic Fantastic.
Yeah.
When we see patients, we try and read the overall look. And honestly, if there's so much that they're neglecting, we will really try and point it out.
About their appearance.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody comes in and they clearly are disheveled, they haven't done anything with their hair, they haven't done, if it's a woman, anything with their makeup, or if it's a guy and he kind of like dresses like very drab or sloppy, or you can just tell, we really try and say, okay, if we got that fixed, what would be left over after that? So a lot of times with those people, that's what it is. For women, I always say, change your hair first, lighten your hair. If you have glasses, did you ever think about, cut your hair right, style it, do something. If you have glasses, did you ever switch from glasses to maybe contacts?
Oh, isn't that scene
all that
in
kind of stuff.
Rocky where he takes her glasses off?
Adrian.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden she looks great. Way to go, Rock.
Like that. He knew from the get-go.
Basically, I model my practice on Rocky Balboa.
Take your glasses off.
Exactly.
Well, he's had some work done, hasn't he?
Sly?
Yeah.
I guess.
Not my patient.
Not my patient either, but boy, he's still in pretty badass shape.
Has he made any movies recently?
Yeah, he makes them all the time.
Well, we were talking about Tom Cruise earlier, but there are quite a few actors who I think...
Yeah, but nobody's in the Tom Cruise level pantheon of success, that guy. Everything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah.
Movie gold, I tell you. That Tommy boy.
Well, he's got a good smile, too.
Yeah, and it's not perfect, which is why it's good, right? It's got a couple little crooked teeth there, which I think make it kind of cool.
Makes him human?
Tommy boy. Anyway, so there used to be a show back in the, I don't think it was the 90s. I think it was maybe in the early 2000s called The Swan. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And they had a plastic surgeon on there and a makeup artist.
What happened to that?
I think they got sued because it was really in poor taste.
Oh,
somebody complained that, why are you calling these women ugly and turning them into a swan? But the point of the show that I always thought was fascinating is how much can be achieved without the surgery. And this is a big pet peeve.
Because they addressed everything?
Yeah, okay, well, what did they do? Well, they just got her a makeup artist, they lightened her hair, or they straightened it, or they curled it, and they got rid of her glasses, got her a new dress.
And they just got somebody altogether different.
Get somebody else in from Central Casting. Right. But this is a pet peeve with you and I with before and after pictures. It drives us crazy, particularly on social media.
One of our faves.
It's like, okay, wow, that's funny. The pre-op picture, they have no makeup on. They're scowling. Mm-hmm. It's probably 5:30 in the morning when they just showed up at the office for their pre-op picture before the operation.
Right.
And then post-op, you see the lighting is nice. They've colored their hair. They've got a full face of makeup, which really drives me crazy. And they're smiling.
And then, of course, they do all those filters that you can put on there.
Please, give me a break.
Facetune. I think it's called
all of those things.
All these different apps that you can put on there.
I'm not trying to be cynical. I know we said we wouldn't be.
But you can't help yourself.
I can't help myself. If you think that that's not going on out there when you look on social media with all those post-ops,
yes,
It's really true.
Telltale signs.
You picked out one recently that I loved. We were looking at it.
Oh, yes.
And you said, that was brilliant. You're like, Rob, look at the hair on her collarbone.
Yes.
And it was
pre and post.
Identical.
Yes.
And we realized that they just completely...
Just photoshopped
They
it.
photoshopped
They just erased the wrinkles.
thing.
I think it was for like a non-invasive type of treatment
fantastic.
or whatever.
Anyway, so do that. So if you're on social media, you're looking at...
Change the hair
some
on your Photoshop.
cosmetic thing, right. You notice what goes on in those post-op pictures.
It's just so widespread, unfortunately. The lighting especially. I think there's some things that are a little bit easier to pick up. Makeup, for example. And then, of course, one of my favorites, too, is when they'll show you a pre and post, for example, something like a breast augmentation with implants, and they'll say what the implant size. There's no scar whatsoever.
It's amazing.
There are only so many ways that you can put an implant in, and nobody has the ability yet. I think maybe at some point we'll be able to perform surgery where you're making an incision on the skin and there is no scar. I mean, you can make the scar improve, you can make it look better, but you can't not have a scar. So I think it's really fascinating when, these claims that are out there. And in general, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There was something actually we were just talking about the other day, which was proprietary name that was basically made
for
it
a facelift
sound,
or
no,
something?
it wasn't. It was for body contouring, but it wasn't a non-invasive. It really was liposuction, and they were differentiating between this proprietary thing, which didn't have the word lipo or suction in it. It was something else, and
so it was a machine of some sort.
Not to cast aspersions, but it made it sound like
this
was the best alternative to liposuction, and all the negative things about liposuction.
Right.
They wouldn't actually tell you what the technique was, but it still involves tiny little incisions. It still involves removal of fat using...
Can I bring it back to food?
Yes.
It's like when you eat something nasty and they say, it tastes like chicken. Well, I'll have the chicken then, right?
Exactly.
Then I'll have the chicken. I don't need to be fooled.
Unfortunately, it's just like one of those marketing things where people, decide that they're going to come up with something that sounds really fabulous. Yeah. No downtime, no recovery. No scar. Everything is perfect, but the results are amazing and dramatic, right? Which really doesn't work. We don't have that magic wand. So buyer beware. Be careful about what you read or think that you're seeing online. Unfortunately, there are way too many ways to doctor these photographs.
Nice one.
If you have any questions about doctoring photographs, doctoring in general, or Dr. Robert Silich or myself.
Or Dr. Olivia Hutchinson, email us at plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. So there is one positive takeaway about all those fake before and after pictures, and that is this, dear listener. Take the advice of those post-op pictures. The vast majority of that good result is not done by the surgery that was purportedly done in those before and afters. So use that to your advantage. What I'm trying to say is that if they look great, and they look great because the hair is lighter or because the hair has changed or the glasses are gone or they're smiling or they have makeup on or the lighting is different, think about all those things to do before you decide to have surgery. So in other words, you might be able to get a great result or at least to pick me up and get you in the right direction by changing your hair, changing your glasses or removing them and going to contacts or something, wearing makeup, smiling. You'd be surprised how far that goes. And this is particularly if somebody who's on a budget, because plastic surgery is elective. It's not covered by insurance carriers, and it can be expensive, particularly where we work. Here in
New York City.
New York City and
the
Los
Mecca.
Angeles and all the major cities where it's done. It can be quite expensive.
So let's talk about some other things that people can do. So how do you feel about spa days? And going to the spa and getting massages.
I think it's massages. I think it's good. You and I have sent people for post-op lymphatic massage and even just regular massage after liposuction if they can tolerate it, if they're far enough out from the procedure where it doesn't hurt. So I think that that's really good.
Do you ever send people for lymphatic massages after facelift or neck lift surgery?
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't, but I will tell people that a facial, I think, is good to do, particularly with microsuction where we suction out the jawline. And I suppose as long as you're 2 weeks out from a facelift or maybe 3, it's okay to do that as well, because I think that kind of manipulation, by the way, I always think it's better if somebody else does it. You can do it yourself, but I always think
it's like the mani-pedi
like
concept.
with most things in life, it's always better if somebody else does it for you.
Tends to you.
Exactly.
Like Prince Philip.
See? Exactly.
Let's go back to the Royals.
Like HRH himself. May he rest in peace. I always think it's better if somebody else does the facial or somebody else does the lymphatic massage because you can really focus on those spots better.
Well, they can, and then you can fall asleep during the procedure,
Exactly.
and then you get
Isn't that the best part of it?
rest. We'll talk about rest because that's really important.
I'm so bad at it, but that is
for wellness.
That is so
they
important.
keep talking and doing more studies and coming up
Sleep.
with more evidence about just how crucial and critical it is. Certainly, if you're sick, that's probably the best thing you can do for yourself and for your body to recuperate is get plenty of sleep. It's really the time when all those healing processes are allowed to happen unencumbered and uninterrupted and undisturbed. So it's really important. And it also really helps with your appearance. They've looked at people who don't get enough sleep. They get around the eyes, areas of your expertise. Skin is so thin there. It really shows when somebody's tired. Get that drooping of the
and
upper
you're cranky.
And you're cranky.
Right? That too.
Which
you're
makes
like
you
miserable,
look worse,
which makes
too.
you look crappy because you're frowning all the time.
It's true that there's some difference in terms of or variation in how many hours of sleep every person needs, and I think some people do
You're
fine.
pretty good with it.
I've learned how to do these power naps, which I think are fabulous.
I know. No shame in that.
But who can do it during the week? So it's reserved for the weekend.
Particularly impressive that you've done it your whole professional life because you
in
are
the office?
No, I don't mean that. No, I mean you're a surgeon. You've had children, many children.
Yes. Well,
You're
that's
a
probably
mom.
why you get so good at it.
I mean, you run a household. You're a mom. You run your own practice. I mean, it's amazing. And
I'm
yet
I'm
you
fabulous.
actually rest and you
have
party hardy all the time.
And you keep a sense of humor,
Also,
too. So
you are funny.
party hardy.
Yeah. You listen to...
In my own mind.
No, you know when to have fun.
I listen to Plastic Fantastic.
That's right.
Along with our listeners.
On major podcast carriers such as...
iHeartMedia.
YouTube. You get me every time. YouTube, Spotify. It's pretty good.
Spreaker.
Spreaker's another one.
For whoever's out there.
iHeartRadio, as you mentioned.
What other things can we come up with? I don't know. A lot. We're going to do a video. We're going
We
to go
should,
that
but we got to do our hair and do our makeup and all that stuff.
You do your hair all the time.
We gotta
Yours is
get
always
dressed.
immaculate, impeccable.
Don't let go of my secrets out there.
Okay, we won't divulge anything more about it. Just to say that.
Have you started watching Stranger Things yet?
No. Yeah, I'm watching a French show now. Just for fun. Just for giggles.
I'm late to the Stranger Things game, but I'm telling you.
Almost feel like
doesn't matter.
It's
Trust
overwhelming
me.
to look at that.
The ingredients in it had everything that I was going to hate, and I love it now. And your kids will love it, and you can watch
You told
it
me
with
you like
them.
the music. The
It's
music
right
is
out of our
really
generation.
great.
It's these are all kids that graduated. I'm going to try not to spill the beans about your age, but let's just do mine.
29.
I'm going to do
My
mine.
age is 29.
So the show centers around kids that all graduate high school somewhere around 1985, 1986, or 1987. So it's us.
Yeah, I wasn't born then.
I know you weren't, but I was. And so for me, that just adds a whole other element of something funny.
How many episodes have you watched up to now?
I just saw the whole thing now. I'm done.
No.
Yeah.
What is it, 13 seasons?
No, 4.
Oh, okay.
But
I didn't think it was a lot more
But
than
it took
that.
a while. Well, they're long seasons. It's great. Are we going to take a break, or are we ready to rock and roll?
No, we're going to take a break in a little bit. But I wanted to hear more about
Food? Drink?
Food, and why you chose Stranger Things in the first place, though. Because you said that it's got all the things that you don't like.
Because our wonderful office, I'm going to name them, why not? Summer, Sarah, Gabby.
The ladies in the office.
The ladies in the office, Bella. They all said, you got to see Stranger Things.
Oh,
It's
so they
cool.
all watch it. And then you guys can talk
Summer
about
was
the
the
best
leader.
episodes.
And I was like, I don't know. And then I did it. And boy, I'll tell you, I'm so
Best thing
hooked on
ever?
it. And you're going to like it too. You really are.
Okay, I'll add it to
There's
my
a
list.
big hair thing in it on one of the guys in it, which makes me like
Big hair
love
or
this
like
kid.
big hair, the
well,
musical?
it's the 80s, so he's got big hair, but
Oh, I
hair
see.
isn't big in this kid's life.
Like Edward Scissorhands? Didn't that guy have like massive hair? The punk rock
Yeah,
look?
and he had scissors for hands. Hence the name. All right.
There's so much to talk about. We could go on and on. That's part of the being...
Yet somehow I'm bored. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy
When I grow up,
backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the
When
country.
I grow up,
I want to be a bench on a forest
when I grow
trail.
up,
I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch.
I want to be a skyscraper.
I want to be When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Plastic surgery with natural, elegant results. Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson returns now.
We're going to talk about food.
Great.
Because diet and nutrition are so important.
Now,
aren't you
you're
happy?
talking,
I
good
went
lady.
that route.
Now we're talking.
So many people also making false claims, another pet peeve of mine,
Right.
that there's some kind of miracle diet, miracle combination of foods, all these supplements that you're supposed to take. There are people who are literally taking dozens of pills on a daily basis because it's supposed to help with every single aspect of their hair and nails and heart and skin and organs. I don't think there's any miracle regimen. I think that each person probably could benefit from a pretty detailed assessment of what their food intake is and what they're starting to lack. And right now, vitamin D seems to be one of those nutrients that is lacking in a lot of, I mean, we're in the summertime, so it's getting better a little bit, but lack of sun exposure. And since we're all being cooped up, or were being cooped up with avoidance of leaving the premises and not seeing one another. So vitamin D, very important. Also has
It's also
to do
apropos, I think, with COVID, because there's some evidence that vitamin D is very good antiviral properties.
Overall immune system, it's an important component of the immune system.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, okay. And COVID-19 and all the other viruses and all the other bacteria that we have to deal with.
When does it go to COVID-22?
We are at BA.5, whatever that means. Who came up with that one, by the way?
Probably
what does that
Fauci.
even mean?
He comes up with everything.
Even more contagious than ever before. And yet, somehow, the rates of hospitalizations are not going up. So that's always a good thing. And certainly the mortality rate has
Thank God.
stayed low, which is not to say that you shouldn't be vaccinated and boosted according to all the experts' recommendations out there. But obviously, we've made quite some progress. But that's not what I was going to talk about.
I have a quick question. Did we lose more people during COVID than we did at the Great Flu Epidemic of 1917?
Yes, I think so.
That's terrible. Is that really right? I always figured that was worse because we didn't have anything.
more people, but I don't think
medicine wasn't as good.
But as far as a percentage, I'm not sure it's...
Wow.
Because the population was obviously very different. I'd have to check the numbers on that.
Thank God those days are behind us.
Let's go back to nutrition. Antioxidants, buzzword.
Big one.
What's an antioxidant?
No
what does
idea.
it do?
No, it's great. No, it's great. We remember all that stuff about free radicals and all that crazy stuff.
Nitrous oxide. Yes, all those things. Those are very important things.
So oxidation is a process of, we don't have to bore the listener with it, but oxidation is a process, right, that is not good for you. It is detrimental to cellular life, cellular growth, and anything that is an antioxidant is helpful in that case.
One of my favorite expressions, a free radical scavenger.
Free radical scavenger. That's you, aren't you? You're a bit of
That's
a free
me.
radical scavenger.
I'm definitely free and a radical in only the best ways. What contains antioxidants? Berries, nutritional.
Berries, particularly the berry skins, are very, very good.
And the darker ones.
Blueberries are big ones.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say tomatoes.
Yes. And heirloom tomatoes, which we're talking about.
There you go.
So good right now. And I think that the nice thing about those is that they continue to bloom and fruit and be available for purchase all through the summer. So it's really one of those lovely things. And I think that in general, having access and ingesting these fruits and the nutrients and fresh veggies directly as opposed to taking supplements, those types of effects are always better off. And of course, if you have dietary constraints, I mean, people have gluten issues and
it's a better delivery system
to
just get it directly.
Yeah, and that will definitely help. So incorporating certain aspects of these medicinal plants or fruits and vegetables that have been proven to help medically. And we're constantly looking at things that can also be applied to medicine, looking to nature to provide us with clues and cues.
And cures.
And cures. So there we go.
It's the name of your next book.
That's like a Wordle.
Cues, Clues, and Cures. Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. It'll
be very short. It'll be, look it up.
So wellness, it's important to have a routine. It's important to be happy. It's important to have a good diet, lots of rest, all that stuff. These are like basic, simple things that we guarantee you as professionals and as fellow human beings.
We do not guarantee. There's no such
thing. I'm going to kind of almost guarantee that you're going to feel better if you try and do some of those things.
A lot of books have been written about happiness. What makes people happy? How do you get to be happy? How
Good luck with that one.
Happy?
The elusive goal of happiness.
I don't think there's a formula. I think you just kind of, try your best and
means different things to different people.
Absolutely. Some people are very happy when they don't
being
see
miserable.
Soul. Yeah.
Right?
Sadomasochism.
I'm happiest when I'm unhappy.
Right. Or when I inflict pain or when I receive pain. Or when
God. Easy.
Yeah, so we're not going to go down that route.
Wow. You always turning me down the wrong. I didn't start anything.
Started with the whole risque thing at the very beginning.
What was that? Oh, the self-abuse guy.
There we go.
That story. I had to bring it up
now
again.
Now we're back to the sadomasochism.
I had to bring it up again.
A little bit of pain. Cruel to be kind.
Nick Lowe.
So
I believe.
I don't know.
Is that right? Yeah, I think it's Nick Lowe.
Cruel to be kind in the right measure.
You got to be.
Well, let's talk about gin and tonics because those have anti-malarial properties.
Love it.
Right? Isn't that one of the reasons that all the Brits were drinking
In the words of Oasis, I'm feeling supersonic. Give me gin and tonic. Great song.
Shall we talk about malaria and mosquitoes?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why you see that there's quinine in tonic water, which was I guess in some circles it probably still is, a medication for malaria, which for years was the number one killer in the world. I don't think it still is, but I know it for a time it certainly was.
Well, there are medications.
Now it's heartbreak, I believe. I know you don't like gin, but you won't even have a gin and tonic?
Definitely not tonic. See, I've decided that it wasn't the gin that was the culprit. I had to identify, extrapolate.
It's the tonic?
I think it's the tonic.
Come on. That's funny because there's so many different tonics out there now.
I suppose. Maybe I'll have to go back and do
I made a Pimm's cup last night. Remember we talked about that last show?
And how was your Pimm's cup?
Spectacular. I didn't realize that you could make it. It was a hot night. You could make a Pimm's cup with ginger beer, seltzer. They say Sprite or 7-Up, believe it or not. You need some kind of a carbonated mixer that goes with the Pimm's liquor itself.
So what's Pimm's made of?
Gin. It's a derivative of gin. Yes, but like we said, it's diluted from regular gin. It's a byproduct of gin, and it is mixed with usually some kind of a lemon soda or a ginger beer or a ginger ale.
So it's kind of like lemonade with a little extra.
or even lemonade. Some people use lemonade with it, and then they add charged water.
Fuzzy lemonade?
Fizzy lifting drink, as they said in Willy Wonka. Exactly. And then you add like mint, fruit, whatever.
So do the bubbles go up your nose and that makes you happy?
Not me. I've learned how to do it over the years. Lots of practice. But a Pimm's cup is good.
And then don't they have flavored gins now too, where they do?
That I can't really.
Things?
Like Hendrix, you're supposed to have with a garnish of cucumber. Which
you're not
I don't
a cucumber guy.
I am a cucumber guy, but I just don't want it in my gin.
You like the cucumber sandwiches? I bet you have those when you visit the Queen.
Of course I do.
She
puts them out for me. She knows the way I like it. She cuts the crust off and everything.
She does it herself.
She knows. Sure. Cucumber sandwiches are good
when they're done properly.
That plays big in the importance of being earnest, I think, by the way, by Oscar Wilde, the importance of cucumber sandwiches. There's a line in it, like a famous line about it.
I'll have to go back. I just watched that play the other day. There must be some good plays that are coming out in New York, too, now that we have...
Really?
I hope so.
Masks are off in the theater.
No. When did that happen?
It happened like a couple weeks ago, but now I hear that they might be going back.
Oh, because of
The performer, I guess the performers are kind of angry about it, not the audience members. It's funny
we keep changing every week, every day. It's like on, off.
More than I would know, because you go to theater way more than I do. I go like, let me think, never. They are really packed in there. It's not like a movie theater. It's not like a concert hall. I mean,
kind of like the airplanes.
Don't you think? I mean, I think Broadway theaters in New York City, at least the older ones or the traditional ones, the big ones you hear about, you're really right on top of each other in those seats. It's pretty close.
Yeah, in front and behind, too.
Yeah.
I went to the ballet the other day, which was at the Metropolitan Opera House, and they still mandate masks, and they also check for vaccinations, and I guess they...
IQ? What else do they check for on the way in? My God.
So it takes a little while, because you can't just walk in, but it's the same sort of thing.
See?
Everybody's Swan Lake, which was really great. American
Never gets
Theater.
old, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Man.
And I have
Who was
no
playing the
skin
Black Swan?
I have no skin in the game. It was a Korean woman.
Oh, it was a woman.
The Black Swan?
Sometimes the Black Swan can be a man.
It was the same woman who plays both Claudille and Claudette.
And she was Korean? And was she an older Korean?
Odette and Odile. I said Claudille and Claudette, but that's...
Like I would know the difference?
I'm to correct myself.
To correct yourself on the ballet?
On the ballet. No,
that
but
wouldn't be me.
The principal dancer who plays
I'm not losing my mind. I've seen Swan Lake where there's a male Black Swan. Or wait a minute.
There's a magician. There's the guy who turns her into a...
Is he a big black bird?
He's a big magician.
Come on.
He transforms people. But what I wanted to say is the main dancer was unbelievable. First name is Aaron, A-R-A-N. I forget his last name.
American?
Bell, maybe, yes, American.
Oh,
and just
cool.
incredible. I mean, the leaps and bounds, you watch these people and the grueling, talk about physical activity and exercise and how difficult it is
it's unbelievable.
To get into that kind of physical condition where you can jump around and lift your leg up and do pirouettes and just go on and on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's grueling.
The athleticism of those guys is unbelievable. Here's where I'm confused, and you're going to have to excuse my ignorance. Saw Rudolph Nureyev dance way back in the end of college or the beginning of medical school. And it was Swan Lake, and he played the old...
magician? He didn't play the prince?
No, he was too old. This was about maybe a year or two before he died.
They make the magician look all bizarro and stuff sometimes. They put like horns on him.
And I remember that it probably would. And I remember it's kind of sad because I think that they transition dancers, if they're still dancing and they're older, into these older roles. He obviously is amazing even then, but it was kind of bittersweet that he now no longer played the role of the young dancer.
Well, when you see the photos of the Makarova, who was the female lead, and all these amazing ballerinas and ballet dancers, really, Baryshnikov, who's here in the city and has, I think, his own school now. So we can talk about that at some other point. It is Aaron Bell. I just want to double check because he was incredible. And it was supposed to be a visiting dancer from, I think, Spain. And we were surprised when we were at the theater that it was the regular company and the regular principal dancers, but it was so wonderful. And the music, like you said, Tchaikovsky stands the test of time, right? After decades and hundreds of years. So it was really fun. But they still required masks. I think museums have done away for the most part. And then a lot of people are sort of on a whim, whatever they decide to do on that particular day. Guess what time it is?
Don't say it's time to end the show because I'm...
But next time we're going to have...
Just got to the ballet section. Come on.
Let's do a little pirouette.
Come on. All right.
So awesome. So many wonderful things to do in the summer. You see, why would you ever want to leave New York during the summer?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Okay, we like people to be away. So
this
that
is wellness. I'm trying to count to 10 and breathe.
All right, close your eyes, count to 10. And listen to Plastic Fantastic Show.
Yes, thank you, listener. Thank you, Dr. Hutchinson.
Thank
well
you,
done.
Dr. Silich.
Wow.
You put a smile on my face and you gave me a little wellness
me
break
too.
today.
We covered a lot of ground today.
So much. And there's always so much more to do.
Isn't there, though?
If you have an email that you'd like to send us, please do so.
Do it.
plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. And thank you for listening, and we'll hopefully have you listen to us again next week.
You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Produced by Mike Scheck. This is Bill Eugene speaking. Got a question? Email plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. And be sure to listen right here every week for another episode of Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.